everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm Ricky Camilleri. Hello. Oh, that is very nice. We're super excited for our next guests. We have writer-director Sam Hoffman and singer, songwriter, and now actress Ingrid Michaelson here. Let's hear it for them, you guys. Come on, let's hear it. They're going to come out here. They're going to talk about their new film, Humor Me, which tells the story of a middle-aged playwright played by Jemaine Clement, who, after a series of failures, is forced to live in a retirement community with his joke-telling father, played by the legendary Elliott Gould. Let's take a look at that trailer.
All right. What's going on?
I need to make a change, Nate. You stop taking care of yourself. You're getting fat.
I'm not getting that fat.
You still don't have an ending.
They were burned alive. These people were all,
Still working on this.
I think it's better if we don't work together anymore. We're closed.
Declined.
Reed left me.
Was it unexpected?
No, we planned it a year in advance.
Call Dad. He's got that spare room.
I'm not staying with Dad. Hi, Dad.
What do you think of the place?
It's, beige.
I can't believe you've never been here before. How long have you been working on this one?
Not long. 4 years.
Maybe Nate's blocked.
He's not being productive. Good news, I found you a job.
This is where you're going to work.
Am I getting paid for this?
Your father has guaranteed your wages in lieu of rent.
Dad, I'm an award-winning playwright.
I'm open to other ideas.
Welcome to the Cranberry Bog Players. This is Dee and Helen and Gert, and that's Allison. We're getting ready for our next show.
Tell me what's wrong with you.
My wife left me, and I had no place else to go. The old fake heart attack.
Other people think I'm funny.
Your daddy would tell me these jokes.
Stop me if you've heard this one.
Come in.
I don't think it was your wife who gave up on the potential you. I just think it was you.
You could use some confidence, Nate.
Life's gonna happen, son, whether you smile or not.
Everybody, please welcome the writer-director Sam Hoffman and Ingrid Michaelson of the film Humor Me. Let's hear it, everybody. Thanks so much for being here, you guys. Congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
there it is. Talk to me about how this movie started for you. I mean, what is it like writing a sort of middle-aged creative who's having trouble writing what he needs to write and getting through his life? Was it close to you at the time is what I'm obviously asking.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, I think that whenever you see a film about a writer struggling, it's ultimately a lot about the writer of the film.
Somebody was struggling.
Somebody was struggling. Yeah, but for me, I think that my way in with this movie was actually more Elliott's character than Jermaine's character, because I had created this website called Old Jews Telling Jokes a number of years ago that became a book and an off-Broadway play. And I met a lot of these guys who were joke tellers, you know, and in the course of making that project. And that kind of inspired the character that Elliott plays, who's a guy who likes to tell jokes as a way of communicating and as well as a way of not actually communicating, as a way of keeping someone at arm's length emotionally.
But that is also debatable a lot of times. Sometimes, you know, not dwelling in some ways is a way of getting by, is a way of moving forward. So much of what Elliott Gould's character talks about with this in regards to Jermaine's is being productive, having sort of like a healthy, productive life, which by not telling jokes to a certain degree and by dwelling so much, Jemaine is having trouble with that.
Exactly, yeah, and I think that's a little bit of where you do get to the autobiographical character of the writer, which is, you know, when you are writing and when you are trying to get something written, and any of you guys who have written anything will understand this, you know, sometimes it can feel like you're not going anywhere and you're not being productive and you're not getting anything done, and it can be easy to kind of, you know, give up.
It's the saddest day at the end of that day when you just realize you've sat there and done nothing.
Yeah, that's why it's important to just like do something. You know,
did you see them as two sides of a spectrum, Elliott and Jermaine's characters?
100%. I think that's sort of like, because Jermaine's character is a playwright and Elliott's character is a joke teller, I thought of them both as storytellers, and I kind of thought like the journey and the conflict of the movie was them recognizing each other as storytellers, even though they don't necessarily respect in the beginning each other's forms of storytelling. I thought, like, the journey of the movie was them to see each other as storytellers.
And how did you come across Ingrid and cast her?
Well, that was luck to some extent. I was writing and I was listening to music, and one of Ingrid's amazing songs came on, and it sounded like kind of the right tone for the movie, because Ingrid's songs are sort of like melancholy but hopeful, and I sort of thought that was like a tone that I was hoping for the movie. And I thought to myself, who is this Ingrid Michaelson, and why isn't she in movies? And I started watching her music videos, and I sort of, thought, wow, she's great. I wonder if she'd be interested in acting in a movie. And so I reached out to her, and
I was.
Well, when I introduced the two of you a moment ago before we played the trailer, I said, and now actress. And I feel like I might be wrong about that. I feel like you've probably been.
Did you hear me yell from behind the...
Yeah.
You did?
I heard you curse out your publicist. You're like, how does he not know my
No, I
resume?
didn't say
No,
that.
okay.
I said, I've always been an actress. I went to
Did you
school...
actually do that?
Yeah. Well, I didn't say it at that volume, but I said it, yeah.
I heard it.
You did hear it? Yeah.
Well, my apologies.
Oh, I don't care.
Seems like you'd know.
No. It was faux anger. I made my acting debut in Staten Island Kids on Stage as one of the 3 little maids in The Mikado.
Oh, I forgot
which
that.
is totally referenced and performed in this movie.
So that was before your
When I
tour
was-
in Christmas Carol?
That was when I was 9.
Oh, when you were 9, okay.
So yes, and then I was...
Got bit by
And
the bug.
before your
I got bit by that bug.
Before you
Yes, that was 7th grade, yes. I told him a sad story today. I was in Fiddler on the Roof, and I was Bielka. She had a line. It was like, oh, Papa, or something.
She's the character who sounds like a pastry.
Yeah, Bielka. And I was kind of like fucking around backstage. I was told I could say fuck.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I was fucking around backstage, like doing something. I don't know what I was doing, some 7th grade stupid shit. And I missed my, oh, Papa line, or whatever it was. And that was my one line. And it was in middle school, so I only had one show. And then the second cast had the other show. There was
was
a
there,
double
like,
cast. So I
silence on
literally,
stage?
no, Spritza, my sister, she took my line.
Oh, that bitch.
But she had to. She had to. The show must go on.
Sitting there going,
Everyone's on
Papa.
stage.
Oh,
Staten
Papa.
Island.
It didn't matter.
Ingrid Michaelson who's backstage
I was like,
flirting with somebody.
I know, I probably was too.
was that the moment where you're like, well, fuck it, I'll be a singer?
Yeah, I gave up on acting then. No, I actually I studied musical theater in college, and I ended up teaching Kids on Stage in Staten Island, the group that I was in for many years. As an adult, I taught kids for 4 years, and I loved theater, but I did one tour. I did a Christmas Carol around the Midwest, and I was Tiny Tim's mom. And music was not very good, and
She insisted on wearing the chains, though.
No, Marley's chains. No, I just it was like kind of a soulless thing. Like the music was okay, but I don't know. When I got home, I was like, this is just, I don't want to do this. I want to make my own destiny. I want to make my own music. And I started to write music. So I'm kind of late to the game. A lot of my peers have been writing, since they were much younger. And I just fell into it, and I was like, oh, I love this. And then I really focused on music for a long time. But I never lost my love of theater and acting. And so when he emailed me, this strange Sam Hoffman, who I IMDb'd very quickly to make sure he was legit, I was like, oh, he is legit.
Too legit.
Too legit. And I was like, yes, I'd love to. And I read the script, and I loved it. And then a brief 3 years later, we filmed.
Indie movies can take a while to get going. So Ingrid and I actually met when we were young. Well, she's still young, but when I was young.
I'm forever young.
She's forever young. And we met, and then, years went by, and then finally, the movie came together, and the cast came together, and the money came together, and I emailed Ingrid. I'm like, remember me? Still want to do the movie? And she's like, let me read it again.
Well, I guess because I didn't remember it. It had been so long. I don't remember
Luckily,
anything.
she liked it again.
I still liked it. I was like,
Well,
oh,
she
yeah.
agreed to it before she didn't read it. She's like, this isn't going to get made. Yeah, sure, I'll do that. Yeah.
I did read it, and I remembered liking it. But then 3 years had gone by, and so I was like,
It was worth a reread.
I was a different person at this point, so I was like, who knows? Maybe it won't feel right, but it was just as amazing as it was the first time, so I love it. Yeah.
Were you nervous at all jumping on set and acting along like Jemaine and Elliott? I don't think you have that many.
I didn't act
at all
with
Elliott.
Elliott.
Yeah.
But we had some interactions backstage. He's very sweet, very nice guy. Was I nervous? Probably.
You didn't seem nervous.
I think I was nervous I told you earlier today.
Oh.
I was nervous the first scene because I had a lot of props.
Yeah.
Like I had a a purse and a saucer with a cup filled with coffee.
Yeah, like a cappuccino.
Yeah,
cup with the
cappuccino.
bread.
It was like, and I had to like, and I remember I sat down and I have the first line and then Jemaine has a line. And I quickly realized that you don't have to like project when you're in a movie because you have a mic strapped to your body. Because I was like, I forget what the line is. Like, can I sit here? Or something like that.
Do you mind if I sit here?
Like, I'm like cheating out to the audience. Can I sit? And I said...
Everyone was like, what is she doing?
Jermaine's like, yeah,
I definitely was,
yeah,
and Jemaine
sure.
was like, I was like, oh, right. And it was a very, very quick learning curve for me. It was like, you don't
take
have
two, she wasn't.
Yeah, by
singing
take
anymore.
two, by the second line, I was like, my volume. Like, I want to see that one take all the way through because I'm sure I was like fucking blasting it out on that first line. And then I was like that. I think I was a little bit nervous that first scene, but then, but then I.
But there's
I
also
warmed
the
up to it.
motorcycle thing, which is, I had written this character who was supposed to be like this badass Harley riding rock star. And I was like, so Ingrid, you can ride you got to ride a Vespa, right? That's cool. She's like, I've never actually ridden a bicycle.
Yeah, I'm like, can you get a stunt double? Because I don't know how to ride a bike. I grew up in Staten Island, and I don't know, we didn't play in the streets.
Any kind
It's
of
not
bike?
safe. What?
You don't know how to ride any kind of bike?
There was once, so my family went to Cape Cod for 2 weeks every summer for most of my life, and there was an old abandoned bike that was like someone left, and this like, we rented like a cottage and all these little cottages, and gosh, a cottage, they were like shacks, but it was like roughing it kind of, and there was a bike there, and I did kind of learn on some kid that forgot his bike how to like ride around in a circle, and that's all I did. There's a video of me doing it, and that's the only time I rode a bike. And that was when I was like 14 or something. And so, but yeah, I didn't like just jump on my bike like I'm an ET and like ride around the neighborhood. Like we didn't do that. Like you didn't leave your house really. Like you went to your backyard. That was about it.
She's like, can you get a double to do it? I'm
Yeah.
like, no.
No. And so I had to learn, and it was really terrifying because I'm not good at. It's not easy
Balancing.
to balance as an adult when you've never ridden.
When you've got Jemaine Clement.
Oh, and he was behind me on the
He's not a
Vespa.
small
He's
man.
like 200 pounds. And also his life is in my hands. Like literally, I'm like careening down a golf course road that was supposed to be paved.
Right.
And it's like all cobblestones and grass
We
and
couldn't
roots.
afford pavement.
And I almost
I actually
went.
crashed a Vespa one time on not cobblestones, but on gravel because I
Yes!
turned a little bit and it just slid out.
So
underneath.
here,
Yeah.
now picture me in this position with another human behind
And
me.
another human.
So
Scary.
It is, and I almost went into a tree.
And then she had to act while she was doing it.
And then I had to say some lines and like scream.
She was
and
very brave. Very
I'm
brave.
very brave woman.
It's a very brave performance as Vespa rider #1.
But I remember, like, during any break, I'd be like, can I practice with the Vespa? Can I practice with the Vespa? And they have to put on my helmet and get the poor stunt guy, this woman again on her Vespa. I'm like, can you put me on the Vespa? But I doesn't look, I don't think I look scared. Yeah, he was a rough and tumble guy. He was like,
stunt guy.
he would just get on it and like careen around like it was nothing, like pop wheelies. And I'm like a granny, look at me, I'm going 10 miles an hour. But it was
There's
very
that thing
scary.
where you have the obviously you have the handlebars, but balancing that is such a weird thing to get used to,
Yeah, because
right?
you turn this way to go this way. It's all messed
Slow
up.
down, you lose balance.
There's only
It's
the two
horrible.
wheels.
I will never do
You
it
actually
again.
have to balance.
Yeah, I thought a Vespa was
Those
like.
of you who have ridden bicycles are familiar with the concept.
Well, how many people here can ride a bike really well? Like, raise your hand. Like, hi. Damn. Okay, how many people can't ride a bike at all? Raise your hand.
Losers.
1, 2. This is 3.
I saw a couple people raise their hand for neither.
There's somewhere in the middle.
Sam, talk to me about casting some of the older actors in this outside of LA. It's a wonderful cast.
Yeah.
Of people that live in this community. How did you find them?
Well, what's great about making a movie in New York City is that you have the opportunity to work with, wonderful actors, even on a movie this size. And we had a great casting director by the name of Paul Cheney, and he hooked us up with Annie Potts, who of course you know, as well as Leclanche Durand, who plays one of the other women at the retirement home. And
Annie Potts is an actress who, like, when I hear her voice on screen, I go, Annie Potts is
Yeah.
here? Yeah, I'm so excited.
she plays Ingrid's mother in the movie, Annie Potts.
And I definitely said I love you in Designing Women, which is from like a deep cut in her life.
I
But
loved her from
Ghostbusters.
before that, the one with Pretty in Pink. Wasn't it Pretty in Pink?
Yeah.
Yeah, where she gets to play, she's wearing all those crazy costumes.
That Annie Potts? I always thought that was Cyndi Lauper in Pretty in Pink.
No, that was Annie Potts.
Annie Potts. I was like, yeah.
Pretty sure.
you sure?
We'll never know. Though.
Yeah. We can't look
there's
it
no
up.
way to
Pretty in
find
Pink doesn't
it out.
exist
If only there
anymore.
was a computer that fit in our pocket. And then there was, of course, Rosemary Prince, who plays Gert, who was 87, I think, when we did the movie, and was amazing and danced and sang.
And I IMDb'd her.
Yes.
She's like, her life is
87.
amazing. Well,
Yeah.
not her age,
But, like,
her
Her career is
career
incredible.
is incredible.
I had a funny thing with Rosemary Prince, which was like, I had this idea for the character, which was that, she was going to kind of be modeled on my Aunt Lucille, who always went to the beauty parlor and always had this big poof of hair, like this fabulous poof of old lady beauty parlor hair. And so I said to Rosemary, here's what I see for the character. I see a big poof of old lady beauty parlor hair and always made up, and she never leaves the house without her makeup on. And she goes, I saw it completely differently. But you're the writer and the director, so I guess it's 2-0. and I thought about it for a second, and I thought, you know what? We're gonna go Rosemary's way. Because if she's 87 and she has an idea for the character, I'm gonna stick with her idea. And we stuck with her idea, and it was one of the better decisions that I made as a director on the movie, because she's great, and she knew what to do with that character, and she was wonderful with that character.
One of the things that you play with in it is you ride a thin line between, I think, having fun with the old folks in the film and their behavior, but never really making fun. And how did you sort of ride that line?
That's kind of like my whole stock and trade is enjoying old people without making fun of them. That was the sort of whole concept of my website is that old people, you can actually enjoy old people without them being the butt of the joke, and it was really important for me not to get into that with this, but that they could be characters and real people and have emotions just like younger people can. What a concept. But so no, you're right. I mean, I think there was a definite agenda for me to not go into, because so often I think in popular culture and in the media, old people are played as the butt of a joke or played as caricatures, and it's just I don't know. I don't think that's that interesting.
Before we go to audience questions, I bring this up because she just won an award the other night, but you're in the midst of working on a project right now with the amazing Frances McDormand, who was even more amazing at the Golden Globes for shooing the camera away every time they tried to film her.
Yeah.
What is that like working with her?
It's great. Fran and I are working on an adaptation of Michael Pollan's book, The Omnivore's Dilemma, which is a nonfiction book that came out in 2006, which is about food.
How meat eaters are killing the earth?
No, it's actually not specifically about meat eaters. It's about the dilemma of being an omnivore, of being a creature that actually can eat anything. And if you can eat anything, what should you eat? And Fran and I we worked together in this movie, Moonrise Kingdom, that I produced and she was in, and we discovered that we had a shared passion for the book. And so we started working on it together, and it's going to be a fictional film. It's going to be a narrative film based on a nonfiction book, so it's going to be a hybrid of the book and a new kind of narrative story. But to answer your question, it's wonderful to work with Fran. She's incredibly smart. She's incredibly honest. She's a great partner, and I'm excited to see it through to being a movie.
You said you produced Moonrise Kingdom. That wasn't the first time you worked with Wes Anderson, was it? How did you start working with him?
No, I started as his assistant director on The Royal Tenenbaums, and I also did Life Aquatic with him and Moonrise and part of Darjeeling. Yeah, so he's definitely an influence to me. I love Wes. I think he's a brilliant
What did you learn from him as a director when you went into making this?
Well, here's the genius of Wes. I think one of the geniuses of Wes. Wes is a particularly brilliant man, but he's very good at making rules about things. Because when you look at a movie, especially Wes's movies, the reason that Wes's movies have a very specific style to them, and you can always identify them as his movies, is because he makes rules for the movies and he doesn't break the rules. So, for example, the camera will move in a specific way, but only in that way, and he won't break that rule. And when you're making something as sprawling as a movie, the only way that you can actually create a style for it is by sticking to the rules that you make for yourself, and he's very, very good about that.
And then also, if you set limitations and challenges for yourself, you constantly have something that you have to kind of create around, and you don't really have just sort of this big open void where you can create anything you want, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very valid point. But so I definitely took from him the sort of like idea of these are going to be the rules of the movie, these are going to be the things that create the style of the movie. Although, you know, I have my own. I didn't want to mimic Wes, you know, but
you don't at all. But there are a couple shots that I did feel.
There's a sequence which is a little bit of an homage.
Yeah, and there's especially I think one shot that is like a whip pan to the stage from somewhere else that felt like a very
well. There's
Wes
a little
Anderson-y
sequence
cut.
which is a little like nod to my man.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Because you know him.
No, go ahead. Sorry, Ingrid.
You know, have you gone to the Natural History Museum? I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
You know the dioramas of all the animals? They
Yeah.
always remind me of Wes Anderson movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know if he was influenced by those dioramas?
Well, we had a part in
It's all the kids
Tenenbaums
hanging out in the museum
where they
a
go
lot.
and it's like Basil's. It's a little Miss Basil Frankweiler. You remember that movie from the book from the Mixed Up Files? The kids go and stay in the museum, and we actually created a little natural history museum in that.
Did
movie.
he ever? So that is like he went there as a child.
Well, he grew up in Texas, but I'm sure like it definitely is the. Kind,
I mean,
it's definitely his
it
world.
looks like
though.
he positioned the animals. And I know they've been there since like
No,
the
I'm
60s.
sure. I'm
but-
sure it's like an influence.
All right.
I'm curious, you know, when you work with someone like Wes and you go to set out on your own to make your own film, to tell your own story, are you I mean, not just that you're influenced, but is it in any way a hindrance that you've worked with someone who's had so much praise bestowed upon them for their brilliance that it can feel almost kind of like, you know, limiting and a challenge for yourself to write freely and to create freely? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I mean, I accept that there's so many people out there who are brilliant, and and I've had the luck to not just work with Wes, but also Linklater, Mike Nichols, John Carney, Nick Heitner. Like I've worked with so many people who I recognize as talented and brilliant and wonderful that, like, I'm not comparing myself to them. I just am like, I try to take what pieces I had the luck of learning from them and apply them to my own stuff.
I guess also when you get to work with them, rather than being an outside viewer, you get to see that no matter how much people say they are brilliant, they're still in the muck or in the sandbox, scraping around trying to figure out what the best idea is. Yeah,
They
exactly.
still have to do the work, you know, and I've watched them all figure it out. You know?
They fall on their faces trying to figure it out here and there as well, and then have to pick themselves back up and figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, the falling on the faces, if you're lucky, happens and stuff that that the audience never sees. But
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
yeah.
Let's get some questions from the audience. Who has a question? Right here.
Hello. So I read somewhere that you based Humor Me on old Jews telling jokes. I was wondering, what is the fascination with older Jews or older people in general, and did you base any of your characters on real life personalities that you know?
Well, thank you. The old Jews telling jokes definitely inspired Elliott's character. I don't necessarily specifically have a fascination with older people relative to any other kind of people. It's just that project, what was interesting about it for me was that these jokes, jokes that are jokes that people tell, here's one, a German, a Frenchman, and a Jew are walking through the desert, and the German says, "Ah, I'm so tired, I'm so thirsty, I must have a beer." And the Frenchman says, "Oh, I'm so tired, I'm so thirsty, I must have some wine." And the Jew says, "Oi, I'm so tired, I'm so thirsty, I must have diabetes." Those kinds of jokes, those kinds of canned jokes, those are jokes that are told by people of a certain age. And they're much funnier when they're told by people of a certain age. They're sort of they become almost the whole package of the person and the joke become a little bit of a time capsule and a little bit of a story in and of itself. So that was what led me to speaking of Wes, the rule. Old Jews telling jokes had a rule. The rule was you had to be 60. Or you couldn't come tell a joke just because.
Well, it's like you've earned it. You've earned your ability to have this joke be as funny as it is.
Right, exactly.
It wouldn't be funny if it was coming from a 27-year-old hipster.
It wasn't that funny coming from a 51-year-old just a minute ago.
No, it's been all right. That was pretty good. That was good. Let's get another question. Who has one?
Hi. So my question is for you, Ingrid. What kind of roles are you looking to take on next after Humor Me?
Well, I just did a short stint on Broadway in a show called Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812.
And she was amazing.
Thank you. It was really incredible because that's something I wanted to do all my days. And so, I don't really know, to be honest. I think for me, because I do have music, I'm not like, I'll do anything. So it would have to be something that was right for me, and but I'm kind of focusing right now on writing.
What about like
that
a
being
Marvel,
said, if something,
Marvel
Marvel's gonna come to me.
hypochondriac
Oh yes,
superhero?
if there was a hypochondriac, she's powered by her fear of getting the common cold, Legionnaire's disease. Yeah, I'm a bit of a hypochondriac. I admit it. I have a TV show about my life that I wrote a pilot with. Well, I wrote 10% of the pilot, pretty much, with this amazing writer Liz Tigelaar, who show runs Casual on Hulu, and so we're looking for a home for that. So then I would just basically play a heightened version of myself, which wouldn't be that hard, but we'll see. Something's gonna shake out, I think.
I think we have time for one more question.
Hey,
right
guys.
there.
So Ingrid, I was wondering, was your background in theater something that contributed to your music career, or was it something that maybe you had to fight against when you were going into a music career?
I think it definitely contributed because I am comfortable in front of people, and a lot of that was due to my theater training. I was painfully shy as a little one, like horribly shy. Yeah.
It's kind of hard to believe.
Like I wouldn't leave my mother's side, and I would cry every day when she dropped me off at kindergarten, and then she said in first grade something happened, and I just was like, bye, and I just became this little independent soul. But I started doing theater in first grade, so there we go. There was an aha moment I had in front of you all.
No more therapists needed.
No, I think that theater really helped me to have a lot of self-confidence, which I saw in a lot of my kids when I was teaching kids. I taught kids on stage, like I said, for 4 years. And when you have a kid for 4 years, you see them go from, 10 to 14. A lot happens to a kid. And a lot of these kids, they would come in these shy little meek people, and they would leave these kind of empowered people. And so I think in terms of being comfortable on stage and brave enough to go out there and sing about things that I'm feeling, which is ultimately the most vulnerable thing I think anybody can do, except maybe sing naked. But I've never done, and will never do that. I'm not that brave. But yeah, I think it really did. It aided me for sure.
Guys, congratulations on the film. Humor Me. How can people see it? When can they see it?
So it opens this Friday in New York City at Village East Cinema. And it will open the following Friday in LA, and then around the country. I know it's opening in Florida, in southern Florida. I know
Perfect
it's opening
location.
I know it's opening in South Carolina. You can go to humormemovie.com and find out where to see it, or follow us on our Humor Me pages on Facebook and Twitter and etc.
It's a really sweet, good movie.
It's true.
Just make sure we say that.
Yes. It is. I mean, it's embarrassing for me to say it because I wrote it and directed it, but I do
It
think
makes you feel happy.
I do think it's a way for you to spend a nice 90 minutes away from the news cycle and come away with a better feeling about humanity than you may have gone in with.
And also with your family, too. It's a good family movie. I think families would enjoy it together as well.
Yeah, there's some.
If you can stand being with your family for long enough to go to the movies, you'll do.
There's a little bit of nudity, but it's of an elderly man's butt.
Yes, it's elderly.
That's the nudity.
Butt nudity.
And it's not offensive in any way. It will not hurt anybody.
No.
Guys, congratulations, everybody. Give a round of applause for
Thank
Sam
you.
and Ingrid. Let's hear it.